Hello everyone, I'm Abhishek Sakhuja from Technology Chef, and this is my first video, and today we are going to see a demo on how to bring up an Ubuntu operating system using Oracle VirtualBox. So today, we know that we are moving into the big data technologies, and the Linux environment are getting the crucial for all the production environment. Not even just the production, the development, the testing. Everywhere you can see the Linux environments are coming up, right? So therefore, I thought coming up with the first demo on to show you that how we can leverage those kind of capabilities on the local system by bringing up an Ubuntu operating system with using Oracle VirtualBox, right? So what do you need for this demo to complete? Two things which you can find on the below description. The first, the operating system for your Ubuntu machine, and the second, Oracle VirtualBox, or VMware. So you're gonna find the link in the description. So let me get started with how to get started with the Ubuntu machine on the Oracle VirtualBox. So I've already downloaded and installed the Oracle VirtualBox, and I've already have the Ubuntu OS image with me as 12 and 14. You can use 12, 14, or 16, anything that you would like to use, right? So first of all, once you open this VirtualBox, you can see that there is a new button over here. Just click on this and you can give your name. So I'll give a name as a Technology Chef Part 1 Ubuntu. All right. So then take the type as Linux, because we are going to start with a Linux, and you do have an option of Ubuntu over here, so you can see that Ubuntu, but I preferably go with other Linux 64-bit. So if you have a 32 bits, you can get started with 32 bits. If it is still a problem on your say about most of the problems are come on the Windows machine, where it you know that it's a 64 but you see the 32 bits, so go and check out the virtualization on the Windows for that. So other Oracle 64-bit, continue, and here is the RAM size that you can select. So by default it is 512 MB. You can go up maximum of whatever the RAM that you get with your PC, right? The thing is that it's always safe to have at least 30% safe for your operating system. So if means that I have 16 GB with me, so I would preferably go a max to max of 12 to 13 GB of RAM for the virtual machine. So here I'm keeping it default, and this is a a configurable property that you can have, right? So even though when the machine gets started, you can just stop and then configure it again to have a new RAM altogether for your machine, right? So I'll keep it default and click on continue. So here we have three options, right? So which is related to your hard disk. If you have an existing VDI VMDK format, right? So you can just click over here and you can use your already created virtual machine as it is in the Oracle VirtualBox, right? Or if you want, right now we are going to start from the scratch. So therefore, create a virtual disk now. So I want to leverage the hard disk from my local machine to bring up this Ubuntu machine. Or I do not want to do this. I simply want to create a machine and I do not add a virtual hard disk right now. But yes, I'll go ahead with virtual hard disk right now. So the recommended size is 8 GB, but you can move it depending on your machine. So for example, you can have, if you have 200 GB, you can go up to, whatever the size that you want, up to 200 GB for your hard disk. So then you can click on create. So here we have three options. On Windows you find around 6 options or 7. So always select a virtual machine disk, that's VMDK. Click on continue. Then again we have some options for our hard disk, like when I'm going to allocate some hard disk space, right? Do I want it dynamically allocated or not? Which means that if I'm using a 2 GB out of 8, 2 GB should be allocated, not 8 GB completely. So that's what dynamically allocated. And you also have a fixed size. I want 8 GB at one go, right? I do not want it to be dynamic. So dynamically allocated and split into file size of 2 GB, which means that your file size will be split into multiple 2 GB, so that if you want to take a bootable drive first, you can just take the 2 GB first and then get started with another virtual machine as well. So I'll just take dynamically allocated as one size. So continue, and this is where it is actually going to store. So by default it stores on the one drive. So for Mac we have only one drive, so it is, I do not worry about saving on to another place. So it will go on to my user Abhishek Sakuja, and then go on to my virtual machine directory. Whereas for Windows user, it is very important to change this drive, because by default it's created in the C drive, so you do not want to screw up your C drive space. So change it, make it to D, E, F, whatever the drives you have. And then here we have an option to select the hard drive space that we want for the virtual machine. By default at 8 GB. You just scroll it and you can just go up to, it is giving a 200, but I do not have, maximum I have is 512, but it is supports up to 2 terabytes. So I'm just going to keep around 8 GB. That's for this session, but remember that once you create the hard drive, you cannot change it. Like for the memory you can change it, but the hard drive, once you do it, it remains fixed. Then you can click on this create button, and it will just on the left bottom, you can see that Ubuntu Chef Part 1 Ubuntu has come up. So now, can we get started with this machine? What are the things we are missing? We are missing the operating system. We are missing the networking. We are missing that what is the if I want to change the memory, or what will be the bootable order of of this machine. So for that, either you can just right click, go to settings, press shortcuts like Command S, right? Or you can just go to settings over here on the top, left top, right? So I click on the settings. You go on to the system, and you can increase the memory. Like this is the machine is yet not started, so you can just change the machine memory size, right? Or you can just like uncheck this boot order, because we do not have a floppy. Yeah, first of all it will be optical, and later on you can just make it a hard drive also, because once the because once it's going to pick the ISO image, right, and then it will be installed on the hard drive, and then it is continuously going to use the hard drive. Then we go to the storage, because I want to add the ISO image over here. So I'll click on this empty button. On the left hand side, you can see there is an icon of a disk. Just click on this, choose a virtual optical disk file, and go to the directory where you have loaded your Ubuntu image. So I have 3, which is in cache right now. So Ubuntu 12, Ubuntu 14, and CentOS 7. So CentOS 7 I'm going to come in the part 2. For now we are working with Ubuntu, so I'll take Ubuntu 14.04. Then go to the networking. Definitely I need to access this machine from my local system, rather than every time going onto the Ubuntu machine and then accessing from there, because that's I feel that's quite tedious. You add lots of overhead, copy paste works slowly, you need to add some shared drives, so that makes things little bit slower, and you do not want to go onto your OS and all tabs, things are not works over there. So therefore what we can do, we can add some IP address to the machine, so that it becomes accessible from my local system easily. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add 2 adapters. The first adapter I'm going to say as a host only adapter, which will help me to allocate one IP address. So currently it will be dynamic, and we'll see that how to make it static. And the second adapter over here, which is like to get me internet, which is actually I'm going to use NAT for that, which is network address translation, which is actually going to translate my local with the IP that is dynamically allocated, so that internet can be provided to my to the IP address that I've given inside the machine. So if you want to get more details on how this host or the adapter has been allocated, you can just I'm just clicking OK, go on to the top, click on virtual machine, go to your preferences, right, and on the preferences go to the network, and you'll get more details related to your networks that you have. So for example, that if you want to create new, you could just create over here, and it will create the NAT. So I just remove this one. I do not want sorry, this is not for removing, this is for removing. Yeah, I just want to remove this one, and I just click OK, cancel it, right? So this is one what we have done. We have set up our machine. Now we should be good to get started. So I just click on this start, or you can just right click and go over here, and this show will become a start over here. So let me make it a full screen. All right, so here it's the machine is coming out. Oh, sorry, this is the other one. Right, so where is our new machine? Yeah, so it is you can see that Ubuntu 14.04 is coming up. So this takes around 30 seconds of time to come up, and then we are going to do some configurations related to what exactly we want with this Ubuntu machine. All right, so we have a full screen coming up, and I heard the voice, it came up. Okay, so I'm going to take it as English as the installing guide for me. So you can just select your other language as well. And this is, I'm going to install Ubuntu, so install Ubuntu. And then I'm not plugged into a power source because I have 60% over here, so that's good. But here I need to have at least 6.8 available, so it checked it's correct. I'm connected to internet because it needs to download the packages. So just go ahead and click continue. Now this is a fresh operating system, so I'll go ahead and say erase disk and install Ubuntu. It will not do anything to your hard drive, to your local hard drive. It's just going to take that 8 GB and see that everything is erased, and just install the Ubuntu and click continue. And now it's gonna select the location, that which time zone that I want this machine to be. Actually, it is going to pick from my IP address, so that's what you can see, the Kolkata. It's giving a wrong location, but Kolkata is here. Right, so continue. All right, so it's like English US, that's what I'm going to select, so continue. All right, so here we need to give the machine a name, right? And then we need to give the host name and the user that I would like to call. So the first thing, the user name, I'm going to, the computer name, the machine name, I'm going to give as Techno Chef, right? And the computer name, that's actually your host name. So let me give it as Techno VM. So I'll give Techno VM, and the username I would give at Sakuja. So then I give the password as techno123, techno123, right? So that's a fair password. You can make it much stronger than this. I'm just giving for the demo, and that's why I made it a fair password. So then continue, and this step, the next step, is going to download the packages from the internet, is going to make your operating system coming up and running, right? For that, it takes around 9 to 10 minutes, and that also depends on your internet speed. So for that, once it will be done, it is going to come like this. So you just click on restart now, and then it is going to bring your machine up. So when the machine will be up, it will be something like this. So you can see that this is a Techno VM, and I just need to give the password, so which is right. So that's a password. Now what we need to do, we need to make it accessible from my local machine. But before that, I just want to show you that how you can access the Linux environment on this. So just click on this button over here, type in ter, which will route to terminal. So you can see there's a terminal, and now you can use this terminal to access your environment, right? So here I kept the name as Tech Chef, which is like this is my VM name and this is my username. So it is actually same in both the case, but whereas in the other machine we have kept as a different name, right? So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to use it first of all, show you that configurations related to the two adapters that we have taken. So if you press this if config, let me make it bigger. So sometimes it's hard to capture that. Okay, I think this is the better way of doing it, right? Yeah, so if config, and you can see that we have two adapters, which is adapter 0 and adapter 1, right? You can also check these adapters using your LSHW, which is your hardware, that it will show that how many adapters are connected to it, right? Or you can just use a normal adapter command, which -c and net, and that will show you that from where it is getting you the then it has been connected to the networks. So you can see that we have two adapters, that is network 0 and Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1, right? And that's what we are going to see in the config. So here you can see that I have been allocated an IP address, which is 192.168.56.2, and but this is dynamic, this is not the static. And there is another one, Ethernet 1, which gives me an IP address of 10 dot, which is related to the NAT that we have configured, right? So now what we need to do is we need to see that whether I am able to ping this IP address from my local machine or not. I'll just open another tab, right, and say ping 192.168.56.2. That's the address we have, and yes, it is pingable. So will I be able to SSH? So if I do SSH to this machine, right, which is the machine name, the username we have is tech chef. So if I go ahead and do as tech chef at 192.168.56.2, the connection will be refused. Why? Because the machine that we have doesn't have an SSH on it, right? So we need to first of all go ahead and install and SSH on it. So quickly I can do sudo apt-get is a repository of Ubuntu, like we have in CentOS and RHEL as yum. Here we have apt-get. So I just need to apt-get install -y open ssh. You just press tab 2 times and you get the options over here, like what are the different options. So I just want to install a server, so I'm just going to install the server. I need to give the password, which is tech chef for me, right? And then it is going to quickly install the SSH for me, and then I should be able to do an SSH for this machine, right? So it is just installing and it's done, right? And then here once again, if I go, and you can see that yes, it is trying to establish the connection, but is asking that whether do you know this host or not. So I'll say yes, I know this host, give the password, and from here I should be able to connect to this machine, right? So you can see that I'm connected to this machine. So from locally, now if you the problem is if you shut down this machine and say about like you have brought up 2-3 machines, and then this machine you got started after a couple of machines. The problem is that this machine address will be changed accordingly. If there is another machine which came up first, so that will acquire .2, then .3, and this may be .4. So every time the machine IP address will change. So what we can quickly do it, we can configure our network over here and make this IP address as a static especially for this machine. So for that, I'll not go to now Ubuntu machine, right? So within the VirtualBox, I'll just go over here and type a sudo vi etc network interfaces, right? So this is the place where you can configure your network, right? So I just need to again give the password because I'm using sudo. All right, so here you can see that the one adapter, which is a loopback, is already added. So I'll just keep it as it is. All right, so another problem with Ubuntu is that you can see that if I press arrow up, it will come A. If I press arrow B, is B, down is B, then C and D, like that. So I just need to have some better VI editor in this case. So for that, I'm just quickly going to install another package, which is your Vim. So that makes my life easy with for the VI editor. So this will be a very quick installation. All right, so almost done. Downloading, and it's just untarring it and installing it. All right, it's done. So we have the VI editor now, and then I can just go inside it. Now it's look better with the color on the top. So it will mark color for us. So I'll just copy this, paste it 2 times. One will be for Ethernet adapter 1, and another one is for adapter 2. So the first adapter that we have is Ethernet 0, and the other one is adapter 1. That's what I'm going to have it over here. So this is Ethernet 1, and above it is Ethernet 0. And then the Ethernet 1 is the one where we have 192 address. So that's what I want to make it static. So I just call it the static. And what are the things that you need to add? The static address. So I want a static address as 192.168.56.60. I do not want 2, I do not want 3, I want to get started with 60, so 60. And then you can just quickly add it another setting, which is related to net mask, so which is another important thing. So 255.255.0, and here at the end you're going to mention the other one, which is Ethernet 1 as DHCP, right? Dynamic host control protocol. That's what it is going to add for Ethernet 1. Once it is done, you can save it and close it. Now, how to make it, the IP address as this one. So if you go to ifconfig, it is still .2. We need to restart the network, right? So, or you can just shut down your machine, bring up the machine, and the machine IP address will change. So here I have quickly restarted my machine, and now if you check the IP address of this machine, it is 56.60. That is what we have said. So this is how you can actually change the IP address and do the networking. The other thing is that you can take the help of making your network down for that particular Ethernet, but sometimes it works and sometimes it takes a longer time, so you need to try it a couple of times, and that's why I took the shorter approach of just restarting my machine so that the new IP address can come up. And you need to launch this this command from from your Ubuntu machine, because if I do sudo if down Ethernet 0, then I'm going to lose the connection with the machine. So therefore, go to your virtual machine, and from there you can just launch this command, and that is how you can actually get into that machine. So from here, if I do sudo if down, right, it will just go with Ethernet 0. So it is actually the outside machine is going to lose the internet, right? So you're going to lose a connection. So that's what you need to go with this. And once you are done with this, you just need to do sudo if up Ethernet 0, and then you can just look for the command that the ifconfig, and your new IP address should be available, up and available, like 192.168.56.60. Now you try to shut down this machine many times, you change the sequence of starting this machine, this IP address will remain intact, right? And now you can also try, like if I say I want to install Apache on top of it so that I can bring up one website. So sudo apt-get install -y Apache 2, right? This is actually going to install Apache for me, right? So it is quickly going to do it. Or the same thing, I can also do it from my iTerm over here. For the Windows user, they can use PuTTY, they can use Eggshell, mPuTTY, so Super PuTTY. So there are different options are available. For Mac users, it's quite simple. They can actually use a terminal. I prefer using iTerm for that. So I think we should have the Apache has been installed for us. So we can just quickly go to a browser, right? And in browser we can type 192.168.56.60 colon, right? This is like we do not need to add a colon over it because it's by default HTTP, right? So even though I've installed the Apache, I just need to start the Apache so that this website can come up, because if I hit enter, it will be by default it is up. So in normal environment, what we do a service sudo service start httpd. Here it is Apache 2 start, like this. Okay, so you can just use this, and that is how your Apache website can be up. Now you can use it for local, because if you do not want to use this IP address over here, you can make it local. So I'm just going to open another tab, right, and I'm going to get started with this machine, which is SSH tech chef, right, at 192.168.56.60, and I want to use that localhost. So for that, I've used -l, which is like I want to use a tunnel over here, which is with a port as 8080 for my local host with port as 80, right? So once I do this, all right, so it is going to sign in over here, but here if I use localhost with 8080, again it is going to show me the Apache website. So this is how you can also create a tunnel, and this is what we have for the session today. And we have created a demo on how to get started with Ubuntu machine. And in the next demo, I'll come up with the CentOS machine, and then once we get acquainted and we have this local machines with soon coming up the demos, and then I'm going to start with the big data technologies, right? So subscribe to this channel, and let me know in the comments what are your likes, what are your dislikes, so that I can improve from ongoing sessions. Thanks everyone.